like to welcome everybody to our regularly scheduled DSS board meeting. I kindly ask that all in attendance please silence your cell phones. And I'll ask Brother Steve Pittman to lead some invocation.
Dear God, thank you once again for the opportunity, God, to come out, meet for the DSS and the county, dear God. Be with each one of us here tonight, guide our decisions, God, keep us always in the forefront, looking out for those that are less fortunate, God, much different situations, and help us always keep their best interests at our heart, God. Ask this prayer in Jesus' name, amen.
And I'll ask Commissioner Harley Masters to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd ask that each of our board members take a moment to take note of the ethics awareness and conflict of interest reminder. Are there any conflicts of interest? Hearing none, I'll move on to item number 6, adoptions, additions, or changes to the agenda. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda tonight?
No.
Hearing none, I'll move on to item number 7, adoption of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion that we adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
All those in favor, vote by usual sign. Motion carries. Item number 8 is approval of the minutes from January the 3rd. Having time to familiarize yourself with those, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the minutes from January the 3rd.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, vote by usual sign. And with that, that brings us to our director's update. We'll ask Ms. Wendy Boone to come and give us her update.
I'm going to open my updates with this is my 6-month anniversary. You've kept me for 6 months. And so we'll celebrate 6 months tonight. Once again, just wanted to share some updates, things that we've been working on and I've been working on within the agency. One of the things is that I met with Mavis on the 10th of January to kind of look at overall budget and understanding some of that. I also attended our first regional LIA meeting with Commissioner Brandon. He was a part of that. So we're really kind of looking forward to all of our input that we can share with them to help that cause. I also traveled to Watauga County DSS to meet with Tom Hughes, the director there, to kind of shadow him for the day, to kind of see how he runs things there. And he is actually the mentor that was paired with me when I enrolled in the Directors Academy. They paired him with me to kind of shadow. And so he's going to be providing support with me, and we're going to be meeting every so often to kind of go over specific things. I'm not really sure as far as talk. He's been a director for about 7 years. Oh, wow. He was in Avery County initially, and then he moved to Watauga County. And we were able to kind of share there as far as like his board and all of that, some of that discussion too. And I got to meet his staff and kind of how they supervisors, that sort of thing, what that looks like. So I'm really looking forward to the time with him. I also completed the budget training. There were 2 days of budget training that was supposed to be in Raleigh, and they decided with COVID once again that they were going to keep that virtual. So I did do a 2-day virtual training on the budget. And I also asked Tammy to sit in with me just to kind of look at things and say, okay, what do we look like in this area, and kind of that discussion back and forth. And then after each session, we were able to meet with like our regional liaisons. And at that time, the lady that covers for us was complimenting Tammy and the job that she is doing and said that she's doing a great job and she has no concerns. So that was really nice to hear. And we also are going to be forming like a regional support group to look at the budget planning for this year. So there'll be about 4 counties kind of getting together to kind of look at that and supporting each other through that process. I also completed a recruitment and retention workshop. I just recently had another phone call with Christy Nash. Christy Nash is our state consultant. So Susan Osborne is at the head of DSS for the state of North Carolina, and Christy is directly underneath her. And we kind of just basically share things that's going on within the agency, things that we're facing, and she's providing support with me. And one of the things that she said that I wanted to share with you was that all of her regional staff are reporting really good things about Mitchell County DSS. They said that they have no concerns at this time, that the communication is really well. Just all of the quarterly meetings are going very positive. So I just wanted to pass that along. So from the state standpoint, we're looking pretty good too. So also I have participated in the CPS quarterly review of all the records. And this was with Sean as well as the supervisors. And that regional consultant, I'm sure his title is, he also shared that we are looking really good as far as CPS in the county. Says at this time he has no concerns for the safety of children in Mitchell County. So that was really nice to hear. And our review was really positive. I also participated in the APS quarterly audit call. Here again, as far as our review and how we're stringing things in, we were in some areas the highest we could be. So that was really nice to hear. And she also said that she feels really good about things with APS in our family. And that we actually had some of the highest marks within our region. And she covers, I think, 20 counties. That was really nice to hear. I also participated in the Medicaid audits review call. And for December, we were once again at 100%. So great to hear. And also one of the things that I have done with Sean and Donna, our foster care worker, we've been working to coordinate plans to once again kind of grow our foster home population. And we're really looking at, big picture, some of the things that we can do. And just so you are aware, some of the things that we are doing is our article within Blue Ridge Christian News. That's going to be reran a little bit. We're actually going to make it a little bigger. We're doing the billboard. We are looking individually, like for even our foster parents to submit. We're going to ask them to submit like a story, so an article to put in the paper and the Blue Ridge Christian News, kind of like their testimony of being foster parents. And we just met actually with Misty Silvers today to kind of look at some more marketing strategies. The next adult MDT team, this is our Adult Protective Services team, is scheduled for the 17th of this month. And our next law enforcement meeting is scheduled for the 15th of this month. So we continue that communication with them.
What organizations and representatives come to your meeting?
We have law enforcement. We have hospice. Lisa Lane is covering for hospice. She hasn't got to be there for the last meeting, but she's supposed to be there this time. We have Kathy Garland for the Senior Citizen Center. We have Sheila Layla for transportation. Our ambulance service. So we're really just getting it off the ground. There's so many members that we want to invite once we kind of get it established and grow it. Do you have any that you would suggest? The Yancey County? Okay, great. we're growing. We're in the beginning stages.
That's a good idea.
So as far as some unit updates, like again, I shared the information with Medicaid and that they're doing well. Child support continues to do well. They're again at 100% compliance. And with our food nutrition and energy assistance programs are staying very busy. They continue to stay busy. The state continues to funnel money through those programs. Just for your awareness, for the month, this is just for the month of January, we served 2,762 people with food and nutrition services. We also, with the LEAP program, this is we have two different energy programs. We have CIP and LEAP. And the state, like I said, continues to funnel money through that program. And they want us to spend that money. So we're doing a lot of community outreach for that. And Jennifer's doing something on WTOE. She's going to do a community spotlight. Facebook page, we're sharing that information on Facebook. And like, for example, with my church at Bear Creek, the flyers, I sent those to the secretary and she's going to send that out in a weekly newsletter. So all of the population that's at home, a lot of our elderly population will be getting that at home. So, working on some community outreach with that program for sure, as well as the LEWAP, which is our water assistance program. It's all as far as my updates. Unless you have some questions for me, I'll let Sean kind of come up and share information.
Good evening. Let's do a quick run through of CPS and APS numbers. With CPS, really no major changes really from last month. We're still at 30 kids in custody right now. As you see that there's a reflection that we had one kid come into custody and one child leave custody. And technicality is that is reflecting 18 to 21. So we had a young gentleman who was actually the one that was on runaway status for a while before he aged out, decided he would come back into 18-21 program. So he came back in and one of our other 18 to 21 members left. So we had, so it's both of those numbers reflect 18 to 21, not a child under the age of 18, actual foster care. We still have 12 kids completely free for adoption. We have 14 that are been TPR'd, so we're waiting. 2 of those we're waiting on the time frame. One is under appeal, and then one we're waiting on the 30-day time frame to run on the appeal process. So, but we technically have 14 kids that have actually been TPR'd. We didn't have any adoptions in January. However, we just kind of let you know we have 1 scheduled for this month and 3 are on the books for March. So we have a couple coming up in the next couple of months. We currently have 3 families in training for foster care. So we're continuing to train and try to add to our foster home numbers. As far as intake, so we had for the month of January, we had 18 calls for abuse and neglect. 13 of those calls were accepted. So that's above the state average as far as screen in as well. And currently we are working with 2 in-home families, and we have a third in-home family that will be moving into family that's currently in assessment that's going to be moving towards in-home service. That's our CPS numbers. Any questions?
I do have a question. The 14 children that are cleared to be adopted, are they all in their tentative permanent placement homes?
Those that there's some that do not have identified foster homes yet, but all that have an identified foster home are actually in those homes. So I believe
Okay.
out of those 14, I believe there is only 4 right now that don't have an identified home. But out of those 4, 1, we have 3 prospective possible homes, and we're just deciding which one's going to be best for them. So I think there's only 3 that don't have an identified home. That's just off the top of my head. but
Okay.
it's really low as the ones that we don't have identified ones for.
Thank you.
With APS, we had 12 calls come in January, alleging concerns about abuse and neglect. 6 of those were screened in. And started an assessment on those 6. Only 2 were screened out, and then we also had 6 that we served into for request for services. So that's kind of where we're at with those. Assistants, special assistants in home, we have still have 1 client there. We still have 14 payees. We have 9 current in guardianship. We currently have no facility complaints that we're looking into. We're still doing quarterly monitoring of 2 of our facilities. Daycare, we're currently serving 85 children in daycare subsidy. And with Work First, we have served 38 families in Work First.
So I have some questions about APS. Like where you've got number of special assistants in home, what does that do to you?
So special assistance in home is, and of course, it tells a lot because it's a statutory program and it's Medicaid. And so there's a lot of things with it. But in general speaking, what that entails is it allows us to, for those clients that qualify, it allows us to assist them with services for them to remain in their home. And so instead of those clients having to go into a facility, it allows us to wrap around them with and pay for certain services that would allow them to keep them in their home. Like if they need help with their rent, and that's going to allow them to stay in their home and not be put in a facility, we can aid with that. So there's a multitude of different things that we can go in. It's going to be individualized because it's going to be based upon that individual's need. There are a lot of federal regulations around it, but in general, that is what it is. It allows us to go in and try to wrap around that person to keep them in their home so they don't have to go into a facility.
How often are you working?
It depends on the situation. It could vary depending upon the need. So, sometimes, some clients we're in contact with every week. Right now, we only have 1 in that particular category. And it really, usually we make monthly visits and generally speaking. Some depend on what the situation is, depend on COVID, depends on all those different things. But generally speaking, we're looking at probably around on a monthly basis.
And then number of pay, what is pay? What is that program?
And Shannon was here like 2 months ago and gave us a really rundown. So payee is where we assist individuals. We basically, all of their money that they come in, that they earn, and usually it's disability or it's some type of public assistance, will come to us. And then we pay all their bills. We make sure all their bills are paid. And we do some case management along with that as well to help them with different things. But basically, we make sure all their bills are paid. Some of them get, like, for lack of a better answer, some allowance. So once we pay their bills, then some of them get a check each week. And so we deliver those checks out to them, make sure that they need any assistance with any other things. So that's basically what pay is.
And do any of the payees have a home health worker that can be checks on, or these
Yes.
people probably don't think that?
It depends. I wouldn't be able to tell you right off that. I don't know them well enough to know whether or not there's a possibility they could have other assistance going into that home.
And then when you guys take over guardianship,
We become their legal custodian, basically. When that happens, for the most part, what happens is the court basically strips away all their basically constitutional rights and gives them to us as a state to make all decisions for them moving forward. So we make all of their decisions related to where they live, if they're allowed to keep their vehicle, or we confiscate their vehicle, what do we do with their property, if we liquidate their property. We become fully responsible for making sure that their needs are met, and whatever their property And assets are, we have to manage those and utilize those to offset any cost, and we try to utilize their assets to avoid any cost to the county.
And I'm just wondering from my own information, after this individual that's under guardianship, if they were to pass away, then their, what they own, what y'all manage, the state, the land, vehicle, bank. What happens to that? That goes to the state, to the DSS, or does that go back to family members?
It goes back to the family. Once a person passes away, our guardianship automatically ends.
Okay.
So we are no longer responsible for anything related to that person.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Sean? Tammy? Good evening.
So I'll give you a budget report this evening. Looks like we're doing pretty good. Our budget looks pretty on target. As of the end of January, we are at 52.87% of expenditures. Actually, that's about 5% under. So we should be around 58%. So we're running about 5.44% under. So that's was good to see. Our revenues are, as of 11/30, the end of November, we're at 36.52% when they should be at 41%. So we know there's two, right now we could identify two reasons for that. One is that 1 month where the way the state passed the budget, we coded against a pot. They passed the budget, we had overcoded. So we talked about that in last meeting. Another reason for it being under is our state updated their foster care payment system. So it made our reimbursements for foster care room and board come in especially late. They came in on 1/31 to be posted in the February books. So we'll see that catch up next month on our revenues. Currently, right now, we do know that our December revenues are in. They're just not in these numbers yet. You'll see those next month. There's $266,255.58 of unposted revenue right now. So when that it posts, it'll move us up to 47% revenues, catching us up. So we're glad about that. 25,000 roughly is that foster care piece. The rest of it is around $241 is coding to those buckets that renew December 1. So every time those quarterly buckets renew on the state's quarter, we code to them. We see especially large revenues at first, and then as the quarter goes on and we exhausted those pots, we'll see less. So but I was pleased to see that jump in revenue this month. So next month we'll see that hit. Overall, I feel like our budget is doing good. We're exhausting all of our pots and learning how to code. Especially one area that we're looking at coding is to a MAT coding, which is an uncapped pot. And the state consultant looked at our numbers and said that we were doing really good and drawn more down than we did last year by far. So that's good. So we're looking at that constantly. There will be a budget amendment going before you in the next session for this budget. However, that should be a balanced budget amendment without any additional costs. We're just moving some monies around, so you guys should see that. That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Ready for budget time?
We're gearing up, yeah.
I'm not.
Woo-hoo. So we're looking at using, not this budget year, but probably next budget year, being trained up to use the actual state budget template, which is a lot more complicated. Whether it's beneficial for a small county, the jury is still out on that. Some of the people in my position, like for instance, the business officer in Yancey County feels like it's not advantageous to them. It doesn't properly predict revenues and costs. But we're definitely looking at the possibility that could help us. We're open to any idea that will make our bottom line numbers better and our county dollar less. Thank you for your time.
Any other questions for any of those folks? All right, moving on to items for discussion. We have on the agenda APS social worker position. And I think last time we talked about this, there was some questions. I think Mr. Masters had some questions about the budget. Would you care to step in there and grab Mavis, I think? Okay. So I think there was some confusion comparing the organizational chart to the budget worksheet. That made it appear that we had more positions than was budgeted. So I think it'd probably be more appropriate to let Mavis explain that than for me to try to explain that.
Okay, I think what you're talking about is the position that Christina just left in December, and that position is most definitely in the budget. It was in the budget, and there was 2 other vacant positions in the budget when we did the budget in July. Those other 2 have never been filled, and from my understanding, there's no plans, I don't guess, to fill those 2. But Christina's position, she did work in that position 6 months of this budget year. She left the end of December. So that position, the money, the next 6 months of that money is in our budget, because obviously we didn't know she was going to leave early. So all of her money for the year is in the budget. It's not been messed with at all. Is that kind of what you were
Pretty much.
wanting to hear? It's in there.
Any questions? All right, and I think I'll invite our director and our program manager back to talk about the need for this position and their plan.
So yes, I appreciate your time again to further discuss this position, but we are here tonight to ask for the county to unfreeze the social work position so we can provide support within our APS unit. And this, just to clarify, when we were here last month, I did ask for initially 2 positions. We are just asking for one. Just one
Will you be transferring somebody from CPS to APS? Or would you hire
the position, the vacant position that we would like to unfreeze will be shifted to APS.
Okay.
So therefore, there will be less positions in CPS.
So help clarify.
Is that
Will,
what you're
you say-
asking?
You say unfreeze, talking about a position that the lady left, had
Correct.
6 months left. And
Correct.
that budget is line.
Correct.
So I'm confused about you saying that position was
So-
already there.
I thought that it was all positions were frozen within the county. Is that what I
All new
understand?
hires are.
Okay.
So, I mean, if she hires somebody, would that not be a new hire?
It will be a new hire, but it's a position already allocated for it in the budget, if I'm understanding what's wrong.
but that will only go, if I understand correctly, for 6 months. Then you'll have to revisit it until July 1. To keep this.
No, it'd still be.
No,
in
because
there.
it's in the budget.
Because it was a position already in place.
Yeah, I was under the impression that,
Just the one that Christina just left.
and I guess there's some confusion there, because I was under the impression that all rehires of current positions were, frozen without approval. Is that?
That was one.
Because I thought if the position was already there, and funded, then that would not be a new hire.
Even though it's funded, because you currently are under a hiring freeze. What that means, other than part-time people, any full-time person that leaves for another hiring freeze, visit that position and make the determination, do we need to refill that position, or can we wait a while, or are we not going to refill it? That's your decision. Have a that have US State, Linda.
And that's across the board, every
That's
county
across the
employee.
board, and anytime you can extend that hiring freeze, but right now, we're under a hiring freeze. And I think we did that during the time
It's in the s-
before Tim
Yes.
came or sometime right after, it's been a
We did it
while.
right at the game.
Yeah,
I think.
But
I was here
okay,
when we
so
did it.
then, I think we're all confused.
No, it's to fill the position. It's just to fill the position. Christina left. The only difference is Christina's position was in CPS, and what they're asking to do to fill that position, but they're gonna move that position to APS.
And I think, not to further muddy the waters, but I believe there's gonna be some conversation about some crossover with that position as well.
Okay.
So just to restate what's going on, every county position that's full-time, we have to approve while we're under hiring freeze. Is that correct? Whether it's full-time DSS or full-time.
Right,
Even if it's allocated within the budget already.
right.
Okay.
That's,
Well, I thought a hiring freeze was to keep from new expenditures for new employees.
thank you for that clarification.
Well, now we're clear on
Hence-
this.
Now we're all on the same page.
Hence the that being on the agenda. So,
You guys are moving forward, I'll ask John.
See is an uptick in the amount of traffic coming through APS in the sense of like calls coming in. So if you look at January of 2001, we had one call for last month. And so as you've seen, there was 12 that came in. The previous report. So there's that. We're seeing more reports come in, and that's been statistically throughout the last about 6 months. We've seen a continued increase in the number of cases coming in. Also, if you look at evaluation, so those looking at those cases that got screened in 2000 from July 1 of 2020 through June 2021, we had a total of 27 evaluations. From July 1 of 2021 through January, we were up to 31 already. So we've already, for the entire year, previous fiscal year, we had total of 27. We're already at 31, and we still have 5 months to go. So that's the number of, and we got 2 workers trying to do all this work on top of keep up with all the other. So we've seen that that increase, as well as complaints or reports on facilities. So we had, for the entire last fiscal year, we had no complaints. We've already had 5 this year that we've had to look into. Doesn't mean there's necessary findings in any of those, but we still have to go through the entire process, and it can take up to 60 days to continue to go through that entire process. So the amount of workload that we're seeing. We're also, trying to do more case management services. So they're averaging around, which is 202 and 204, which is just temporary case management services. We're looking at averaging 14 cases in those categories. So just overall workload that we have, that 2 people are trying to cover that, and a supervisor who's supervising a total of 7 different programs, 5 within APS, and then 2 additional ones of daycare and the other thing. The workload is just tremendous on that group. And as we see this continued increase in the number of needs in our elderly population, we want to move in and be able to support, our community better and provide better support for our community, but also spread out that workload a little better so that we can do and manage the task ahead of us. There's also been some law changes as of this year. There's no longer a waiting list for SA in-home. So before we could run a waiting list, if we weren't able to accommodate or we weren't able to work that case, we could put them on a waiting list. The law does no longer allow anybody to go on a waiting list. If they walk in the door and they qualify, we have to serve them. With some of the new law changes, we're also expecting a potential uptick in the number of guardianships coming our way. And that's a lot of work The last couple of guardianships we've worked through have been tremendous. The amount of assets that we're trying to manage, as well as the needs of the client, have been just, we're seeing a lot greater needs. So sometimes we're working with younger individuals, with mental health needs. And so there's just a lot more wraparound services that are required at this time. And so, our two employees and our supervisors are completely maxed out. And we're seeing a continued increase in the number of the workload. So.
Question for you, Sean, and I would by no means try to tell you guys how to run your business. I don't know, but I'm asking just so I can understand. So the way I understand the staffing for the CPS, you were staffed that we've got enough staff to cover back when we were having the 80 to 100 kids in service, correct?
Correct.
And the way this position you're talking about now is moving one of those roles over to this adult protective service to help with that. I guess my question is, so if we were staffed to, handle the 80 to 100, now we're down around 30. I don't know the normal caseload that you would like to see for a CPS worker, but it seems like you'd still have some bandwidth there, I guess is what even if you take that one worker away and move them over here, it seems like these guys are not going to feel any real pressure from it because we're
No.
down at 30.
Right. So that's why we're able to do this. Why we're able to do this at this point is that we've seen a decrease in our CPS, and while we're seeing an increase in our APS, and what we've been able to do is now take advantage of that and go, okay, we no longer need this support in CPS, but we can certainly use this over in APS, and that's why we ran those positions empty, because we haven't needed them. But now that we're seeing it in APS, we're like going, hey, we have that position here. We can really.
I just answered my own question in my head that it's all back. You still need to be able to fill that position though. That's what I guess.
Right, because it's technically it's frozen.
Yeah,
and
so
so we just need.
I guess if we just, as a board, if we said, look, I'm sorry, we can't fund it. What does that look like to you? What's your contingency plan?
Well, our contingency plan is that we have to continue to manage what we have. And again, what that's gonna look like is as APS, requirements continue to increase on us, it's gonna increase, a continued workload on those staff. What our concern is that we could end up losing somebody.
Could you go down
max
2
someone out.
positions over here on this side? I know that originally it was taking this one position that left and moving it, if you refill it over to here, but what if you took another one of these positions that are here and moved them over there? Is that?
Are you currently, no, I may be completely wrong. Are you still down? You have a total of 3 open positions in CPS, if I remember correctly.
So you've cut 2 already.
Right. So basically what we're doing is those 3 positions we are not needing in CPS right now.
So you'll be cutting a total of 3, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see what
So
you're
they're
saying.
not really, it really wouldn't be just cutting 1, they've already cut 2, and then they'd be cutting.
Now you're taking the third one.
Yeah.
This one you're just going to repurpose to the.
And the only thing, and y'all can speak better to this than I probably can, the only thing I would worry about is, I think you want some elasticity in CPS. And if you have somebody leave, there's a pretty long turnaround time to get that person replaced, right, with in-service
Yeah,
training.
you're looking probably at 3 to 6 months to get any one of those places. If we lost somebody in CPS or we lost someone in APS, you're looking at about a 3 to 6 month process.
So all those cases would shift to the rest of those workers. And then, in this climate, if you're maxed out on cases and you're on call and all that stuff's going on, other jobs start to look healthy. So it's kind of like a domino. I could foresee it becoming a domino effect.
That's kind of my word. I got it written down. Is that you
Does
experience
the
the domino effect.
supervisors, do they carry caseloads anymore?
Well, I mean, they're not assigned caseloads per se. So I don't have, my supervisors assigned a particular case, but what they do is they obviously help carry cases. Shanna helps carry situations and does intakes and does all that thing on the APS side. My supervisors for CPS do the same thing. They help with visitation because we don't have the support staff. One of those 3 positions is a support staff who was doing our transportation and our visitation. Well, now all that visitation, all that court ordered supervised visitation now is on the caseworker and the supervisor. So I got supervisors and caseworkers transporting kids, supervising their visits. If I got someone out on COVID or on sick, where we've been dealing with that, I've had, my supervisors are out in the field doing home visits and things like that. If they need to, help out with court reports. So in a sense, although they're not necessarily assigned a particular case, it's all hands on deck. They're working other cases along with their staff. Along with, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the weeds here, but that quality assurance
Yeah,
is a big deal. That can pay
there
this
is a-
position.
There's a lot of moving parts, and then APS, there's a lot of, I need Shanna to really focus on the supervisory portion of it, because there is so many areas of payback that if we miss something, the liability is out there. And so I really need her to be able to be the supervisor. And at this time, she's really picking up on some of the, the overflow. And so being able to shift this position is going to do what we need it to do.
And I guess I don't want to get in the weeds, but I guess the best way to determine, if everybody's being utilized to their fullest potential is their day sheets, right? I mean, if they're coding the county time or they're coding the Medicaid and bringing down federal and state dollars.
And right now, I mean, although we've seen, everybody is getting their coding in with APS, because some things opened up with MAC, which is Tammy kind of mentioned the MAC billing, which is uncapped federal money. Just to give you an idea of what APS has really been able to do, and this is just 2 workers doing this. So for last fiscal year, they brought down $3,000 in MAC. As of December of this year, so July 1 through December 31st, they've already pulled down $10,000. So that's what we're doing. I mean, working with Tammy, we're just working as a team of how do we maximize all these different things. So although, there's a potential of being able to continue to pull down additional money if we have another person being able to work cases.
We changed that because they're now doing this work at the state, and then they're helping with those cases. That doesn't mean all 480 minutes a day, all funded, but it does mean it's all. Yes, first, that's okay.
Is there other questions for me? And, hearing other questions, I have one for myself. I know you guys are professionals, and no matter what this board decides, y'all are going to go back to DSS and take care of our people, and to the best of your ability. How vital is it, in y'all's opinion, that we fill this position?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd put it as a 10. I wouldn't waste your time. I wouldn't be asking for something that we haven't really discussed over multiple times. I think we're at a very crucial point where the APS is at maxed out. We're really at a point where, and I'm really, and everything is on a trajectory of more and more and more. And so I feel like it's absolutely crucial for us as a community, because it's going to help us do better for the community, but it's also going to hopefully make things much more manageable and balance the workload.
You have somebody that's already out there that's gonna make a lateral transition into that position yet, or you don't?
We
know
don't
yet?
have anybody. What we'd have to do, we'd have to post it internally first and see if there was anybody that'd be interested in doing a transfer. Then we would go through the process of assessing that. If we didn't get an internal candidate, then we would go external.
I think we'll put it on the agenda. Any other questions or thoughts before we move on to the next item? All right, thank y'all so much. Not on there, right
I
there.
mean, the board yelling.
Yeah. So, our next item is, item number 11, a closed session.
I gave it to him.
So the board needs to enter a closed session under General Statute 143-318.11. Article number 7, to plan, conduct, and hear reports concerning investigations of alleged criminal misconduct. I'll entertain a motion. The invitees would be our director and our program manager. And our attorney and our clerk. And HR. We need our. Probably HR. Okay.
Second.
All those in favor, vote by usual sign. I'll ask those invited to stay.